In the legal world, there is a combination of forces that feed a corrupt and suffocating legal system for attorneys. Law schools, law professionals, judges, and even the firms themselves for whom you work create a system, a matrix, if you will, that is nothing like what you thought when you passed the bar exam. The purpose of this podcast is to help you escape this legal matrix, leading you out of the proverbial desert to be free of the bondage of the matrix. Hosted by Bryce D. Nyer, attorney at law with over 30 years experience in the trenches of civil and criminal litigation at the state, federal, and international levels. He's a highly accomplished and resourceful legal professional, a true master of his craft, and he's here to help you get your life back. Here's your host, Bryce D. Nyer.
All right, this is Bryce D. Nyer coming at you live from Fayetteville, North Carolina, home of Fort Bragg, for another episode of Escape the Legal Matrix with, of course, yours truly, that I've already said, Bryce D. Nyer. Woo! We have a program tonight. Yeah, let's hear it. Yes, we do. Come on, bring it on. Let's hear it. Woo! Okay. So tonight's episode is going to be something that you all really need to think about. You really do. And you're going to say, well, what do we need to think about? I'm going to tell you as I sip on this great drink of pineapple juice, orange juice, and crushed ice that I'm not supposed to have. But hey, just got back from the dentist, looking all good. Got to go back Tuesday, but that's another story for another day. So we're going to talk about tonight this thing called Runway. Excuse me. So you're saying, well, what are we going to talk about Runway? All right, I'm going to tell you what that means. So over this weekend, and actually since last week, before the weekend, talking to one of my business consultants, a guy by the name of Trevor J. White, who is the owner and CEO of Pivot, and instrumental in growth for men and women in business and all aspects of life, plus one of my close friends. We were talking about basically, how many years of life I have left because I'm building new companies, building new things. And the issue came up about, well, how long it takes to do certain things, to build certain companies. And, is it what I want to do? And how long it's going to take, how many years? And then in the follow-up discussion with one of my close friends over the weekend, the issue came up about, hey, look, life is like a runway, and as you get older, the runway gets shorter. And I thought about that, and thought about it. And it, when you're in your 20s, you think like, live forever, retirement, blah, blah, way down the road. Don't even think about stuff like that. Some of you probably don't even think about death, but you should have, because guess what? Ain't nobody leaving this earth alive. But getting back to the subject of runways, each year you grow older, this runway gets shorter. Now, you can call it the runway of life because that's kind of what it is. And maybe you know your direction, maybe you know your course, maybe you're focused, and the runway, typically is you just go straight. And sometimes you go off path off the runway and crash into fences and other things, maybe other planes, so to speak, on a real runway. But there is a runway of life, just like there is a shelf life. And you don't ever know when that runway is going to run out. And I started thinking about, hey, you know what? I really need to think about where I'm going over the next 5, 10, and 15 years of my life. And then today, I started to kind of look at what's the statistics of the average lifespan for a male and a female. And it's basically early 80s. I think women live a little bit longer, maybe a year or 3 years, depending upon which study you look at. So let's think about this. The average person that goes to law school typically, and you can look at the American Bar Association studies, but let's just say you graduate college at 22, do 3 years of law school, you're 25, and you work the next 40 years slaving away in the legal matrix, which is going to put you in the grave early probably. But let's assume you survive the legal matrix. If you do, because you weren't smart enough to really open, own, operate, and lead your own law firm, which you should do, which is what we're talking about in Escape the Legal Matrix, and all the pitfalls. But let's get back to what we're talking about here. So You work 40 years. You're 65. And the issue is, one, is the world still here? Two, do you have enough financial means to retire, whatever your retirement may look like? And if you don't, then, what are you going to do? Because I will tell you, a lot of my colleagues that some of them retired young, some in their 40s, some in their 50s, others in their 60s, others like, I don't want to retire, I want to keep working. Some are still going to their 70s and 80s because they want purpose. Without purpose, they just stagnate and they die like dinosaurs. But the reality is, when you get to a certain age, you have to face the fact of your eventual mortality. And you have to ask yourself better questions like, what do I want? Where do I want to go? What does the last quarter of my life look like? And frankly, you don't know when your last day on this planet's going to be. You don't. The only one that knows is God. That's it. He knows the exact minute, the exact hour, exact day, month, year. He knows. But you don't. And you have to look at your life like this runway is each year that you grow older. Hey, I hate to tell you this. The runway doesn't get extended. There's no extension program on the runway of life. It just doesn't exist. Now, you may see these movie stars, other celebrities that pay all this money to try and look younger and do all these things and go on these freezy capsules for a little bit of time with pure oxygen or whatever the hell it is they do. They're like, I'm extending my life. No, they're not. Or they're like, hey, when I die, they're going to be in this cryo tube or, chamber and bring me back to life when they find a cure for whatever it is that killed me. And I hate to be Debbie Downer. I really do. But, well, let me tell you. So guess what? The only person I know of in recorded human history that has been resurrected is Jesus. And of course, he brought back Lazarus back from the death, and I think some others in scripture. I don't remember exactly. But the reality is, look, you're not coming back. I'm not coming back. Once you're dead, you're dead. That's it. You're either going to heaven or hell, one of the two. That's my belief. So you may have other beliefs, but while you're here on earth, the fact is, time doesn't go backwards. Yesterday's gone. Tomorrow ain't here yet, and the only thing you got right now is today. But you law students and you young lawyers, you really need to think about right now. Don't wait 20 and 30 years down the road to really start figuring things out about what you want. Because most law students get caught up in this thing in their third year. I got to get a job. Send out resumes. And you get caught in this cycle, this karma cul-de-sac of bullshit. Okay? You do. Of playing this boxed game where it's all cookie cutter, go to these seminars and go to, when they have, alumni day, or they're bringing all these law firms interviewing and blah, 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 and get your resume and you send them out and you get all these rejection letters. And you're really not looking at your life. What you're looking at is like, I just need a job, need to pay bills. And yeah, that may be true. But if you get caught up and you get pulled into the legal matrix, you're never going to get out unless you take the steps to ultimately be free, because that's what it's all about being free. Otherwise, you're just somebody's trained monkey dancing to the music they're playing out on the street. And you don't want to be a trained monkey. They don't look happy. So, yeah, you have to think about that, about the runway. It gets shorter. And so each step you take on that runway of life, as you move forward in time and as you approach your ultimate destiny, which, I hate to tell you again, but, it's when you pass away, it's when you die. People say when you pass. Look, you don't pass, you die. That's it. That thing like, oh, he passed. No, he didn't. He died, or she died. They're dead. I hate when they use this term, they passed. Passed what? Past the exit? Past the door? No, they're dead. There's life and there's death. Call it out like it is. Be real, raw, and relevant. The runway of life, you don't know when it's going to run out. You think you have forever, but you don't. So you law students and you young lawyers, or even you lawyers that are, in your 40s and 50s, you're still young. And I say you're 62. I mean, it depends where you are in life. But you really need to do this self-audit, this self-assessment in the domains of body, of being, of balance, and business. I mean, what is really important to you? What really matters? Because I'm going to tell you, if you're chasing the retainer fee, if you're chasing drugs, if you're chasing booze, if you're chasing porn or sex, it's empty. It's going to leave you empty. If you're looking at the shiny things of new cars and new houses and beach houses and blah, 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 it's going to leave you empty. Because here's what Trevor told me. That even though I want to move to the coast and I love the beach and stuff, the thing is, when I move to the coast, I still take me with me. That runway just shifts to a different longitude and latitude. And this is the whole point of Escape the Legal Matrix. You law students, you young lawyers now, while you're still young, if you just listen and you consume the knowledge that people like me are trying to give you and to train you and enter into the coursework, into this curriculum, and invest in yourselves about how to make your life different, how to thrive in an environment of just, God, you're just a legal mark. You're a mercenary. That's what you are in the legal matrix, if you allow it to make you that. But I'm telling you, it doesn't have to be that way. I mean, a couple of years ago, I just said I'd had enough. I started drawing lines in the sand. I realized about my shelf life, and again, most recently, in the last couple of months, about the runway. It's growing shorter for me. How do I want to live the rest of my life as a lawyer, as a person? And do I even want to be a lawyer anymore? Or do I want to do something else with the training and the skill sets that I have acquired over all these years of owning, operating, and leading a law firm? And I'm going to tell you folks something. There are some days that I just want to sell every single thing I own. All of it. All of it. And shut down every subscription I have, get a basic cell phone with no internet and nothing else but just the ability to call and check the weather and maybe a GPS. And that's it. And just figure out what it is that I want in the domains of body, being, balance, and business. Because at some point, and this is what one of my good friends made, she made this point this weekend. When you get to a certain age, your body is going to begin to break down. And you're not going to be able to travel, and you're not going to be able to do certain things. So your window of opportunity is going to diminish. So let's take a look at that. Let's say that you turn 65 today. Maybe you're in physically good shape, you work out, and you're flexible and do stuff, but here's the reality. You may only have 10 or 15 more summers left to travel. You may only have 10 or 15 more years to have the physical ability to do certain things. And then after that, from what I've seen historically, a lot of people begin to really physically and mentally diminish at a rapid rate. Then they can't travel, they can't lift things, they can't do things that they can do at age 65 or 60 or 55. And you really have to take that into consideration. This isn't about depressing you or making you sad. It's about the reality of life, the reality of living, and the reality of death, and the reality that, look, man, woman, okay, guys, girls, whatever you identify as, unicorns, I don't care. Okay? Your runway is going to shorten little by little each year. And at some point down the road, years down the road, that runway gets shorter a lot faster. And if you don't dial it in, if you don't know what you want, if you don't know, how to solidify yourself in these domains of body, being, a balance, and business, you're never going to have fulfillment. There are days when some days I'm like, look, my passion is on E for empty. It's just not there. It's just not there. And I have to take certain steps to take a step. I have to take steps back and say, Why am I feeling this particular way? What is it? What is this void in my life? Which we're going to do another podcast on about the void in your life. But suffice it to say, if you don't have the domains of body, being, balance, and business down pat, and you're not dialing it in, and you don't know what you want, and you don't have clarity and focus, I'm telling you, I've been there. You can never have fulfillment. Your runway has now quickened in the pace of ending, of running out. And once it runs out, that's it. You have a runway here, coupled with a shelf life, and you just don't know when it's going to run out. And if you're blessed enough to live a long life and it be fruitful, it's going to be based upon what you do or what you fail to do. I can personally attest to this. The best times in my life, the best times were when I had a mission, I had clarity, and I had focus. And I knew exactly what the impossible game was. I knew exactly what I wanted. The worst times in my life, when I went off path, when I went off the runway. And I just lost all focus. I lost all clarity. I didn't know what I wanted. And it's a horrible, 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 horrible place to be. It's a horrible place to be. So you have to look at your life now. Now. Don't wait. Don't get caught up in all the social media and comparing yourself to other people and get caught up in another person, boyfriend, girlfriend, fiance, spouse. You have to live for you. You have to determine your own runway. And if you're not the pilot of your life cruising down that runway, somebody's going to do it for you. And guess what? They may crash you into something and destroy you. So I want you to ask the better questions. Where in your life are you on the runway of life? Where are you? Where are you? How fast are you moving forward on the runway of life? At what speed? And on this runway, where are you traveling? What are you seeing in body and being and balance and business? I'm telling you, folks, you law students and you lawyers, if you don't wake up, if you don't realize what the legal matrix is and go listen to my other podcasts, if you fail to do this, if you fail to listen, to heed, and to learn from those of us that have decades of experience that have been there, how to avoid these pitfalls, your life will be consumed by the legal matrix and you will be the walking dead. It's taken me a long time to realize where I was, how trapped I was and imprisoned. And that my runway was growing shorter and shorter and escalate. I mean, the pace that it was moving toward the end of the runway was picking up because of the self-destructive habits in all those domains. So one day in 2018, I awakened. And it's going to be a battle every day, every month, and every year. But if you equip yourself with the skill sets, if you're solid in these foundations, these domains of body, being, balance, and business that ultimately lead to fulfillment, your life is going to radically change. You're going to collapse the amount of time it takes you to achieve things in your life, your impossible game, your monthly missions, your weekly fires, your daily hits. These are the things that you need to pay attention to. Reach out to me. Contact me at brycedenier@gmail.com. It's simple Gmail. It's easy to remember, brycedenier@gmail.com. Hire us to guide you to opening, owning, operating, leading your own law firm, but in a different way, in the warrior's way, in the pivot way, based on the experience, the decades of experience. This is the whole purpose of Escape the Legal Matrix, to awaken law students and lawyers that your life does not have to suck, that you don't have to be a hamster on the wheel, just running and getting nowhere. If you're going to go down a runway, then at least know where the runway is going to lead and enjoy the journey. But it's the journey that you make that ultimately determines what you're going to enjoy. Nobody's coming to save you. Nobody. You have to save yourself. And you do that by being weaponized in body, being, balance, and business, and understanding what the legal matrix is and how you go war against the legal matrix. All right. This has been a great episode, a great time. This is really fulfilling for me. It's passionate for me. So listen, ask yourself the better questions. Again, where are you on the runway of life? Where are you and what are you doing? All right. It's been great. It's been another episode of Escape the Legal Matrix with, again, yours truly, Bryce Denier, coming at you live from Fayetteville, North Carolina. That's right. Give me a clap. Yeah. That's right. So again, it's your life. I can't live it for you. You have to live it. You've got to take a good look at those domains of body, of being, a balance in business, and ultimately to that fulfillment. The runway of life. That's what I've been discussing. If I'm discussing it, guess what? You need to discuss it too. So, guess what? This is Bryce Denier again, coming at you live from Fayetteville, North Carolina, home of Fort Bragg, where everyday men and women do what? Don in uniform, fight for the rights that what? That we so often take for granted. This is Bryce out.